Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Rasul. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. High voltage campaigning ends for the last phase of assembly elections in Assam. Bengal prepares for second stage of voting. With the BJP's controversial advertisements during the Bihar polls in mind, Election Commission rules no advertisements in newspapers on the 10th and 11th of April in Assam and Bengal without prior clearance. Businessman Vijay Mallya dodges enforcement directorate summons for the third time, agency to consider options against him. And Kim Jong-un supervises test of engine designed to carry intercontinental ballistic missile. Korean state media claims engine is capable of striking US mainland. First up, all the election-related news in our special segment, Verdict 2016. The news from election-bound states where campaigning in West Bengal and Assam ended at 5 p.m. today. On Monday's elections for the second and last phase of assembly elections for the 61 seats in Assam will take place, while in West Bengal, 31 seats in 3 districts will vote on the second day of the first phase. The two-staged first phase in West Bengal covers the Maoist-affected areas. The first phase of elections in Assam and Bengal was conducted on the 4th of April, where Assam recorded 78% vote turnout, and West Bengal saw an impressive turnout of 80%. Our correspondent Vishal Daya spoke with the additional election officer of Assam, Nitin Khare, on the poll preparedness and security arrangements ahead of the final phase of elections on Monday.
We have with us additional Chief Electoral Officer of the state, Nitin Khare. Sir, how has been the campaigning for the second phase? We saw, it was pretty peaceful in the first phase, not too many untoward incidents reported.
Even in the second phase, the campaigning has been quite peaceful. No untoward incident as such has happened.
61 seats which are going to polls. So how many security personnel you're ensuring that BTAD areas are also going to polls in this particular phase? So what are the arrangements which have been made by the Election Commission?
The Election Commission has made available sufficient number of security forces, and all the precautions have been taken to ensure a peaceful poll and a free and fair poll. At the same time, around 190 illegal arms have been seized, 830 illegal ammunition have been seized, and around 27,292 licensed arms have also been deposited. So all the necessary action has been taken to ensure a peaceful poll.
So this was the additional Chief Electoral Officer of Assam saying that the Election Commission officials are fully prepared to conduct a free, fair and peaceful polling for the second phase in Assam. With camera person Vivek Matpal, Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Guwahati.
Meanwhile, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi led a BJP delegation to the Election Commission ahead of the second leg of the first phase voting in West Bengal. Raising the issue of excess polling in the first leg, the BJP demanded the Commission's strict intervention in ensuring free and fair elections in the remaining phases. The party also lodged a complaint against the Police Commissioner of Kolkata for not following the Election Code of Conduct.
पुलिस कमिश्नर है।
Right, let's go across to our correspondent Pranav Goswami, who's joining us on the phone line from the Bardhaman district in West Bengal, covering on the ongoings as far as the polls over there are concerned. Pranav, the campaigning has ended for this particular phase, and in terms of the crucial nature of this election, let's try to understand that. What's at stake for each of the stakeholders, the TMC, the left and the Congress, and of course the BJP, the third party in the fray?
Frank, in this second part of first phase of polling in West Bengal, there will be 3 districts, Bankura, West Midnapur and Bardhaman districts constituencies are going for poll. If you talk about in 2011 election results, before 2011, this entire region used to be left-dominated region. But in 2011 election, TMC did extremely well, and TMC won 18 seats out of 31 seats which are going for poll. And in 31, 3 seats Congress won, and CPM could win only 8 seats. But before that, it used to be a region where left has been doing well in this region. If you talk about issues, this entire region is called rice plate of Bengal. This region is the biggest producer of rice in West Bengal, and this is known for rice cultivation also. But farmers are now complaining that this only source of income in this region for farmers it comes from agriculture. Then also inadequate irrigation system, which farmers are complaining. They are depending on monsoon, and the monsoon is also very uncertain. So this is the issue, which is the major issue in this round of polling. Apart from this, lack of employment opportunities and lack of industries, these are other issues. Law and order is also a very big issue. This time TMC is facing a big challenge from opposition, especially because TMC left and Congress are contesting this election together. As far as BJP is concerned, BJP is also trying its luck.
All right, Pranav, we'll leave it over there. Thank you very much for joining us with the latest. Pranav will, of course, keep a track on the goings-on as far as the West Bengal elections are concerned. But shifting our focus to Assam now, where the crucial final phase, the second and the final phase, is going to be happening on Monday. Vishal Daya has been stationed in Guwahati and has been getting us all the latest from there. Let's go across to him. Vishal, I mean, this is a critical phase, and given that there was a high voter turnout in the first phase, which the BJP and even the Prime Minister had said that has made the Congress nervous. This second phase is really crucial for Tarun Gogoi to repeat his feat that he's done for the past 3 terms. Vishal, can you hear me? All right, we'll just try to establish that line with Vishal Daya once again. In fact, we cannot establish that line. We'll get you that update a little later. Let's move on for now. The Election Commission has directed that no advertisements will be published in newspapers on the 10th and 11th of April in poll-bound Assam and West Bengal without prior clearance. The EC's move comes against the backdrop of BJP's controversial advertisements during the Bihar elections. The poll watchdog had issued similar directions ahead of the phase 1 of polls in the 2 states last week as well. It had also said that such advertisements in the last stage of elections vitiates the poll. The EC said the candidates and political parties will not have any opportunity of providing clarification or rebuttal in such cases. During the Bihar polls, the EC had clamped a ban on publication of 2 controversial ads printed by the BJP in Bihar. Now, adequate number of central paramilitary troops will be on duty in Tamil Nadu for the May 16th assembly polls there. Chief Election Commissioner Naseem Zaidi said this after his meeting with political parties in the state. He also said that the number of flying squads to check distribution of cash and as well as other violations would also be increased. The Election Commissioner also said that the authorities have been told to review identification of vulnerable locations and bring it to the Commission's notice. Over 30,000 polling stations in the state will be covered by webcasting. Over 700 static surveillance teams and over 350 checkposts will also be deployed to detect violations and irregularities.
Increasing the number of flying squads. At present, there are over 700 flying squads. Their numbers would be increased so that their coverage is effective. There are over 700 static surveillance teams and more than 350 checkposts are operationalized. There has been a good amount of seizure so far. The data is shared here in the press note. Our flying squads are fitted with GPS to track their movements and for prompt action. Our control rooms are working. We encourage people, citizens, to inform our authorities, our control room, through various modes for any sort of violation, either MCC violation or violation pertaining to cash distribution or liquor distribution.
Let's shift focus to some other news now. And business tycoon Vijay Mallya dodged the enforcement directorate summons for the third time today in connection with the money laundering probe against him. Mallya wrote to the ED seeking time till May to appear before it. He said he would not be able to appear as he is currently busy negotiating with banks. The ED has to now decide whether it needs to approach a court for a non-bailable warrant against him.
Businessman Vijay Mallya failing to once again keep his date with investigators. It was the third time that he had failed to present himself before the enforcement directorate sleuths. Officials said Mallya had informed the investigating officers in Mumbai that he will be unable to depose personally. However, he had suggested that his legal team could help the ED in taking the probe forward.
It is for Mr. Mallya to ensure that people have trust on him and whatever he is saying, staying in London or saying something will not actually carry much meaning. He must come before the law, present himself before the law and face the consequences. If he is not guilty, he is fine. If he is guilty, he should face the law.
Officials say the agency has two options now since Mallya has skipped appearance on summons thrice, which is the maximum time allowed.
This is going to go for years together. So probably, I will get old, my other colleagues from Kingfisher will get old, till the time he keeps buying time from ED and other government agencies. I think it is the time for these government agencies and the government of India to wake up and give the same treatment what they give to a common people.
Mallya is facing legal proceedings for alleged default of loans worth over 9,000 crore rupees from various banks. The Supreme Court has asked him to disclose all assets owned by him and his family in India and abroad by April 21st. The directions by the Apex Court came after a consortium of banks unanimously rejected his proposal to pay 4,000 crore rupees by September. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Chief Justice of India, Justice T.S. Thakur, today said that the process of appointing judges must go on to improve the system. He said the delay in appointments will deprive people of their fundamental right to access of justice. He further added that 130 names recommended from various high courts are in the process with the Law Ministry. The Chief Justice's remarks come amid reports that names recommended by the collegium headed by him have been held up by the government. The government and the collegium have had differences of opinion over a contentious clause in the Memorandum of Procedure to select judges. The clause gives the government the final say in rejecting a name recommended by the collegium under national interest. Now, a man threw a shoe at Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal while he was speaking about the reintroduction of the odd-even traffic rationing measures in the national capital. The man was identified as Ved Prakash of the Aam Aadmi Sena. Prakash alleged that the fake CNG stickers were being distributed in Delhi ahead of the odd-even vehicular scheme. Sharma also threw a CD which he said contained a sting operation. Kejriwal, however, continued his press conference and informed that they were thinking of implementing the odd-even scheme for 15 days every month. Now, abetment charges were filed against the father of the juvenile driver who allegedly drove a Mercedes car that killed a business consultant, Siddharth Sharma, on the 4th of April in Delhi. Manoj Agarwal was arrested on Friday after the police found he gave the car to the teenager despite the fact that he was involved in previous cases of rash driving. Agarwal was booked under Section 104 that reads with 304 abetment to culpable homicide, while his son was charged with culpable homicide. According to the police, the Mercedes car was booked for traffic violations thrice last year.
Accused Manoj Agarwal has been arrested under Section 109 read with Section 304 Part 2 of IPC, that is for abetting culpable homicide not amounting to murder. During investigation of this case, another fact has come out today that it was not the first offence of the accused juvenile offender. In the past also, by doing a rash and negligent driving, he has caused an accident. So and there was no action taken on the part of the juvenile's father to stop him, to prohibit him from taking the vehicle.
पुलिस ने एक बार उसको अरेस्ट करके अंदर डाला होता बच्चे को, या जो भी करते एक्शन लिया होता, तो आज शायद मेरा लड़का जिंदा होता। ये मेरा एक ही एम है कि और किसी की डेड बॉडी उसके पेरेंट्स या उसके भाई बहन या उसके माँ बाप या उसके बच्चे ना देखें।
Now, the HRD ministry today rejected the demand of outstation students of NIT Srinagar to shift the institute out of Kashmir. The ministry, however, assured them of addressing their genuine issues. The outstation students met Deputy Chief Minister Nirmal Singh and Education Minister Naeem Akhtar, along with officials from the Union HRD ministry last night. The ministers told the students that the genuine demands like better amenities inside the campus and improving the academic atmosphere will be addressed. They also said that the security has never been an issue at NIT, but the state government will ensure that the concerns on this front will also be addressed. The Board of Governors of the NITs will be meeting on the 11th of April to address all the issues. Meanwhile, around 150 students embarked on their journey, Chalo NIT, from Delhi to Srinagar to show solidarity with the non-Kashmiri students at the NIT in Jammu and Kashmir.
Government is almost on a kind of mission or a war mode against higher institutions, against students and youth. It is time for Mehboobaji and Modi Sahab both to stand in front of mirror and just look at the fact why these images have got augmented in last few days.
In which the police was used by the BJP-PDP government is shameful. You must let the university authorities first try and resolve the matter, to allow the CRPF and the local police to come in, and the brutality with which they beat students, ironically because they were saying Bharat Mata Ki Jai. It is really unfortunate.
The ministry के काबू से बाहर होता चला जा रहा है मामला. NIT कश्मीर में भी जो श्रीनगर में भी जो कुछ हुआ दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है और इस मामले को मेरा ख्याल है कि नियंत्रण किया जा सकता था, लेकिन ठीक ढंग से उसको भी देखा नहीं गया.
Extremely bad management. It's a kind of an arrogant and a completely ineffective government of Smriti Irani and Narendra Modi, who have completely finished higher educational institutions in India. They first used the excuse of nationalism in JNU or Hyderabad. They were scared that if students rise, they'll start questioning their economic policies of financial accumulation of pro capital initiative.
HRD मिनिस्टर साहिबा ने इस बारे में वहाँ की चीफ मिनिस्टर से भी जानकारी ली है और जो भी इसमें न्याय होगा वो न्याय मिलना चाहिए. इसमें किसी तरह का राजनीतिक हो हल्ला मचाने की जरूरत नहीं है.
Time for us to take a short break. That's lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
My father was a Tamil teacher, and in fact he was responsible for my building up. The orderliness in the lifestyle was brought by my father. In India, my feeling is that primary education has to be strengthened heavily. Vices are established by the Act of Parliament to have a high quality science education.
Watch Eureka with Professor V. Ramakrishnan, Director, Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Thiruvananthapuram, on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Some international news now. And North Korea successfully tested an engine designed to carry an intercontinental ballistic missile. Korean state media said the engine is capable of striking the US mainland. Pyongyang Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un supervised the test.
North Korea has done it again, successfully testing a new engine for an intercontinental ballistic missile. In a clear challenge to the US, the Korean state media said the new engine would guarantee the ability to launch a nuclear strike on the US mainland. The test was conducted at Pyongyang's missile station on the country's west coast, the same spot from where it launched a long-range rocket that put an object into an orbit early in February.
경의하는 김정은 동지께서 서해 위성 발사장을 찾으시어 사형의 대륙간 탄도 로켓 대출력 발동기 지상 분출 시험을 지도하셨습니다.
Amid heightened tensions in the Korean peninsula, troops of South Korea and the US conducted a river crossing drill near the demilitarized zone on Friday.
Our mission over here is to deter North Korean aggression, partner with our South Korean allies across multiple formations, and then help sustain our alliance here on the peninsula.
South Korea and the US remain skeptical over the North's rapid advancement in its nuclear and missile programs despite tough sanctions. Tensions have been high in the Korean peninsula ever since North's nuclear test and a long-range rocket launch earlier in the year. Reports suggest that Kim Jong-un is organizing a grand political congress in Pyongyang in May, in which he has threatened a fifth nuclear test. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, in the latest in the Panama leaks case, El Salvador officials raided the local offices of the law firm Mossack Fonseca on Friday. They've seized several documents and equipment. Meanwhile, Panamanian President Juan Carlos Varela sought a diplomatic solution with France after his country was blacklisted by French authorities following the leak.
The Panamanian law firm Mossack Fonseca was raided by Salvadorian officials on Friday, seizing documents and 20 computers. However, nobody was detained. The sweeping raids came in the wake of suspicion as Mossack Fonseca removed its office sign on Thursday. An employee of the law firm reportedly said the company was planning to move. The El Salvador office is not listed on Mossack Fonseca's corporate website.
También quiero hacer un llamado a las personas, a los abogados y a los bufetes jurídicos que pudieran haber estado prestando servicios a estas empresas que no vayan a cometer un error. Nosotros vamos a llamarlos y les vamos a pedir información y los vamos a citar.
Meanwhile, Panama will not retaliate over French move to blacklist the country of uncooperative tax jurisdictions, but will focus on diplomacy with France. Panamanian President Juan Carlos Varela gave the assurance after holding talks with his French counterpart François Hollande.
El ministro de Economía y Finanzas de Panamá va a viajar a Francia el día martes, como se habló con el presidente Hollande. Va a llevar una posición de país, vamos a llevar una posición digna, respetuosa, abierta al diálogo, pero no estamos de acuerdo con este tipo de decisiones y en ningún momento como jefe de Estado voy a permitir.
British Prime Minister David Cameron meanwhile said that he should have handled the scrutiny of his family's tax arrangements better. His apology comes just a day after he confessed that he had benefited from his father's shares in the Panamanian firm.
I know that I should have handled this better. I could have handled this better. I know there are lessons to learn and I will learn them. And don't blame number 10 Downing Street or nameless advisors, blame me. And I will learn the lessons.
Even as countries across the world began investigating possible financial wrongdoing by the rich and powerful after the massive leaks, the founding partner of Mossack Fonseca, Ramon Fonseca, remains adamant on his stand that the company has not broken any laws. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some other international news now in Global Buzz. At least 5 migrants drowned in the Eastern Aegean Sea after their small plastic boat capsized. The victims include 4 women and a child. Their bodies were found northeast of the Greek island of Samos, close to the Turkish coast. Greece's Coast Guard say they have no information about the ages and nationalities of the victims. The survivors told authorities a total of 11 people were aboard the 3.5-meter boat. An anti-terrorism court in Pakistan issued a non-bailable arrest warrant against former President General Pervez Musharraf for his failure to appear before the court in the 2007 judges' detention case. Musharraf is facing legal proceedings for detaining over 60 judges, including former Chief Justice Iftikhar Mohammad Chaudhry, at the time of emergency posed in 2007. 72-year-old Musharraf flew to Dubai last month for treatment after the Supreme Court lifted the bar on his foreign trips. A banned group named Ansar al-Islam, tied to the Al-Qaeda in Bangladesh, has claimed responsibility for the murder of a student activist. 28-year-old Nazimuddin Samad was killed on Wednesday night and widespread protests erupted condemning the blogger's death. Ansar al-Islam posted an online statement that its members carried out the attack as vengeance, saying that Samad abused God, the Prophet and Islam. The US has asked its citizens to hold off on all non-essential travel to Pakistan. America has warned its citizens to remain vigilant as violence remains a significant threat in Pakistan. The US State Department said that Pakistan continues to face terrorist violence, including sectarian attacks, and several foreign and indigenous terrorist groups pose dangers to the US citizens throughout the country. Egypt and Saudi Arabia have announced the building of a bridge on the Red Sea connecting the two countries. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Saudi King Salman announced the decision after holding a meeting in which 17 agreements were signed to enhance bilateral ties. Egypt and Saudi Arabia agreed to build the bridge aiming to boost trade between the two countries. Time now for all the sports action in Sports Beat. Ace Indian shuttler Saina Nehwal has lost in the semi-finals of the Malaysian Open Badminton Tournament. Saina lost to Tai Tzu Ying in straight games 19-21, 13-21. Saina has not been able to win a single event against Tai in the last 6 meetings, including last month's All England Championship. The Indian women's hockey team ended its winless streak by notching up a close 1-0 triumph over Canada in a classification game of the Hawke's Bay Cup on Saturday. India had come into the match searching for their first victory against the Canadian team, and the first half was played out evenly between both teams. India will next play Ireland in the classification game on Sunday. Brazilian soccer legend Pelé on Friday said corruption scandals have tarnished his country's image as a soccer nation, but just months before it's due to host the Rio Olympics in 2016. Following a series of corruption scandals that has seen the country come under severe criticism for preparations for the 2014 World Cup and the 2016 Olympics, Pelé said that the bad publicity is taking its toll on the image of the South American nation. Brazil's embattled president Dilma Rousseff on Friday inaugurated the newly built aquatic center for the 2016 Rio Olympics. The ceremony came as Rousseff cancelled plans to attend the Olympic torchlighting ceremony in ancient Olympia later this month. Rousseff's office in Brasilia said her trip to Greece was never confirmed because it overlapped with two events she is due to attend at the United Nations on drugs and climate change. Liverpool captain Jordan Henderson will miss the rest of the English Premier League season due to a knee injury. The midfielder, who damaged ligaments in Thursday's Europa League quarter-final draw at Borussia Dortmund, has been ruled out for 6 to 8 weeks and could be doubtful for England's Euro 2016 campaign. That's it from us. Goodbye.